John Santucci from TC Palm. We are here at South Fork High School. Right on cue, I love it. We are so glad you guys decided to join us for the first Prep Zone on the road. We've got Camp Gobbler. Really? You changed it? No. Okay, it's easier to write it than it is to say it. Camp Gobler, South Fork linebacker. Coach Lavelle, obviously you know Dennis, Money Picks Jacob. Dennis, let's start with this. The offense, Stone Lebanowitz was sitting here last year, all areas all-time leading passer. He's gone now. What do you think about this offense?
I think there's a lot of questions. This is a team that averaged 30 points and almost 350 yards a game last season. And when you lose a guy like Stone and a couple of other key skill players, you don't just replace them. It's going to take a team effort, I think, to replace them. And of course, I'm sure Coach will be telling us more about that a little bit later.
Yeah, Coach, let's get you in here. What did Stone Lebanowitz mean to this program?
Well, at least in the last 10 to 15 years, in my opinion, he is the face of the program. Anytime anyone talks about South Fork football, in my opinion, two names come up, Dennis Lavelle and Stone Lebanowitz. They are just synonymous with what this place represents. And he was a tremendous player, but in addition to that, he was a tremendous classmate, student, person, and just one of those guys that people are going to talk about for years to come.
So talk us about the process. How do you get to the process of figuring out who the next guy is going to be, reworking the offense isn't going to look like it did a year ago, correct? So walk us through what you do in the offseason to get ready for a whole new offense.
Well, a lot of it goes back to the spring, trying to pick and choose what we want to do. The spring is just one of those things where you got to try stuff out. You're never going to replace a kid like Stone and that type of production, not to mention Stone, but Stanley and Cephas. Those were tremendous players, kids who were in the lineup for 3 years. You just kind of got to, it's almost hit or miss. You got to try some things out. Some things are going to work, some things are going to stick, some things aren't. But we're going to have to do it a little bit different formula this year. We're going to have to be better on defense. We're going to have to be better on special teams. We're going to have to grind out some wins, maybe shorten the game a little bit. But it's one of those things that's the process, and we're never quite finished. We're going to continue to adapt as the season goes on.
So we knew all the guys last year. Tell us a little bit about some of the guys this year, quarterback, running back. I know RJ's back there somewhere. I'm sure he'll fit into the mix at probably 5 different positions.
Right. If RJ's on time, then yes, he is here. Yeah, we have some talent back there. We're just not very experienced. We're going to start a young sophomore quarterback, Ryan Gross, very smart kid, IB student. He picked up the game well, put a lot of time in this summer. Obviously, you mentioned RJ, tremendous athlete. I've said many, many times in my 13 years here, he's by far the best athlete that we've ever had. But again, he had an injury last year, but he needs some experience. Johnny Alville's returning at tailback. And we've got some pretty good kids up front. I think that we can dominate the line of scrimmage at certain points. I think that we've got to get our mental reps ready. We've got to play harder. We've got to get in shape. But if all of those things come together, we can be very efficient offensively.
The old bumper sticker was fat guys and fullbacks. Is that still the theme?
Well, that was my dad's mantra. That was one of the things he put a lot of pride in. And I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I think over the last 4 years when we had Stone, we won a lot of games by finesse. He was just such a tremendous passer with him and Walt and Cephas. We beat people, we threw it 44 times in the last game. And it's just not something that we were very used to. And I think that we're probably going to have to go back to that where we have a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a harder personality, something to go to, something to hang our hat on. And if that's how we win games, so be it. If it's fat guys and fullbacks, so be it. If we have to throw the ball around, we'll do what we got to do to get W.
Dennis, any questions from you for Coach Lavelle about the offense?
What's the toughest part about breaking in a new quarterback when you've had a guy like Stone for 4 years? What's the toughest part about breaking in the successor?
Starts with teaching them how to take a snap. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to earn my money this year in the sense that, when Stone came in, not only was he a tremendous player when he was older, he was a phenom when he was in Little League. I don't know if the kid ever lost a game. I heard about him by the time he was in the 6th grade. People were talking about Stone, and he was just so far along where other 9th graders are that, to be perfectly honest with you, I never really had to spend a lot of time with the minute parts of the game, the mechanics, the little things. And it's something that I've kind of had to go back to. So in my opinion, I've had to do that a lot more than I've had to do, quite honestly, in the last 7 years. Because before Stone, it was Cody, and he was pretty darn good too.
All right, so let's do this, and I want to get the crowd involved a little bit. You talked about him coming in as a freshman. Camp started as a freshman, which is very difficult to do at the linebacker position. Now, Camp, we're going to play a little game before we talk to you. We're going to play 1 of 2 games. You wanted your classmates to figure out what game you're going to play. So here's your options, guys. We've got, and we're going to do this by applause very quickly. You can ask Camp what his favorites are, favorite restaurant, things like that. Or we can play a little word association, which is I give him a word and he's got to say the first clean word that pops into his mind. If you want to see him do what's your favorite, clap for that. Wow. Don't all clap at once. If you want to hear him do word association, bang your hands together. Wow.
That sounds pretty unanimous to me.
I think that's unanimous, and some of them just figured out what's going on. Okay, we've got six things here. You give us the first word or phrase that pops into your mind. Football.
Physical.
Okay, I'll hold this one. Kickers.
Punters are people too.
Punters are people too. Who's your punter?
My man Caesar back there.
You had to think about it. You didn't know his name. All right. This was from Coach Lavelle. Leadership.
Coach Lavelle.
Coach Lavelle. Don't say leadership.
Legend.
Which one?
Both of them.
Okay, good answer. All right. Bulldogs.
Tough.
Robots.
Technology.
All right, last one. You guys can have some fun with this. Martin County. Is that your word? First word.
I think I got to go with Martin Bull.
Wow, that's funny because one of your athletic directors said soft. I'm not going to say his name, but he used to coach there. All right, Camp, talk about this defense. You guys returned pretty much everybody, and obviously with Stone not here, a little more pressure on the defense. What's that like? How do you guys approach this season?
I mean, if you can look, you can see a lot of our defense returned. We got a great middle linebacker in Truman Neal. He can go in the weight room and just lift everything in there. We got some really good guys at DB. Offensive line is amazing. Defense line is amazing. We just got some guys coming back all over the place. We got a cornerback in Nick Saucy. He'd never played football before, and if you went out there and watched him, you'd think, wow, this kid's played his whole life. And just, a lot of experience across our defense right now. And I think we could be pretty talented on the defense side of the ball.
Dennis, any questions for Camp about this defense?
What's the most important thing in taking that next step to becoming a more solid defense, being able to dictate the game a little more than in previous years?
Well, first off, we got to go harder in practice. That's got to be something. We can't rely on our offense to put up 50 points a game because we don't have that offense anymore. But we just got to go tough in practice, go fast as we can, full speed all the time, and just have that mentality that you are not going to pass the goal line.
Appreciate it, Camp. Dennis, let's fast forward to our picks. Friday night, these guys play Royal Palm Beach. Your thoughts on that game?
Well, I think it depends what you're trying to get out of it. I mean, Southwark has always played well in these kickoff classics. 14-8 all time. 6 of the last 8 they've won, and the 2 losses were by a touchdown. So obviously they come out trying to win these games. Royal Palm was 4-6 last year. I think Southwark's going to. This is a great way for Southwark to get into the season, especially with so many new faces on offense. I think this is a game they'll win, 21-17.
21-17 Southwark. Dennis just made some new best friends. Coach, before I give my pick, let me just ask you real quick one last thing. How do you approach this game? Do you look at it do you approach it like a regular season game? Do you just try to get a lot of kids in? What's your mentality going into a preseason game?
My mentality has always been that we're going to play to win. We're going to play our starters because there's one thing that you can't duplicate in practice, and that's the level of conditioning that's necessary to be able to compete for 4 quarters. And that's something that we have to be able to gauge. We won't necessarily do everything that we would normally do in a game, all the plays, all the tricks, all the gadgets, that sort of thing. But for the most part, we're going to treat it as if it's game 1. However, there are a couple little things that are different. I spoke to Coach Bueno today. He would prefer not to go live on all of the special teams, so we are going to forego punt and punt return. But other than that, it'll be business as usual for us.
I've been here for not quite as long as you. What year did you start working here?
1984.
Yeah, go 84 Olympics. I was like young then. But I've been here for a while. In fact, I covered Coach Lavelle his senior year. For me, South Fork football is physical on defense and fat guys and fullbacks. That's what I'm used to. I love that they're getting back to that a little bit. I'm going to say South Fork wins this game 21-14. I think the defense is going to be kind of where they hang their hat. I'm so glad that we have the administration back here that reminded them to clap because they go to South Fork. So that's it for us. Dennis, any last thoughts on this week?
Looking forward to getting some answers to a lot of questions. We don't really know anything yet, and that's the exciting part about these kickoff classics. We'll get a few of the answers. Not all of them, but we'll start to get some.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys jumping in. South Fork High School, thanks for having us. I believe we're at 0 next week, so stay tuned.